Hello and welcome to the first writer's block of 2026. Hey, what's going on, Heidi?
Well, just living the dream. What can I say?
That doesn't sound quite living the dream-esque. I'll be honest with you. That sounds a little
Yeah. It's been a
different than
while.
that.
Yeah, anyway. I didn't say it was my dream.
Oof. So this is our first program of the new year. This is huge, honestly. I feel like it's been quite a while since we all talked. Now we've got you on stage. We've
Yes.
got Jaji on stage. The real fun can commence. Huge. Jaji, congratulations. We're all very happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. So cute. So cute.
wonderful.
Cuteness quotient maximized.
I mean,
Maximized. Oh my gosh.
how can you be away from him?
Well, they only allow in 2 people at a time. So I just took my husband and my sons to visit, and then her friend is coming. So I'm bringing them home, and her friend's going to be there from 1 for a bit after that.
Congratulations.
So that's why I was able to do this. We're actually picking up food on the way back, but I will mute if it gets loud here. But I should be home soon. So
You can mute anytime whenever you're not talking because there is some background noise coming through.
Yeah, I definitely will. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and we're really happy.
We are very happy for you because that is a great way to start the year, I feel like,
It's always.
Yeah, just for everyone, Jaji now has a brand new grandson. So that we're congratulating her.
Just last night, right? I think it was.
Yeah, 6:30 last night.
That's
7
fantastic.
pounds, 20 inches, just like a perfect medium size. People keep talking about how small he is. My daughter keeps going, he's a whole 7 pounds.
Right in the window. So let us address at least one thing out of the gate. We have moved to an hour later, right? This is for any number of reasons, but we also are going to be calling audibles along the way. So for context for folks that are interested, Heidi will host all of the times that I'm not hosting, and I'm only going to host the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. This follows the cancellation of my Wednesday program. I'm no longer going to do the Wednesday program for writing, publishing, and authorship. We're just going to meld them together, melt them right into the same thing. Sometimes this will be a little more free-form discussion. Last year, we did an entire program for the year. We're not going to necessarily do that through 2026. It served us well. But at the same time, there's lots of things that are interesting and compelling happening out in the world of indie publishing and books and writing. And I think this format shift will afford us more ability to address some of these things in a timely manner, but also to just hang out and enjoy each other's company without necessarily getting after the outlines and things that we prepare when I have to kind of, put my foot down and keep these ladies on topic. If anybody would like to come up to stage and hang out and talk, we're going to maybe address some of the successes of 2025, some of the shortcomings of 2025, and maybe some of the plans for 2026. I know I have some. I bet you guys do too. Tell us about it.
So, as you all know, my grandson just arrived. So his name is Wally. My daughter came over to America when she was 13, and she couldn't speak English. So she couldn't understand anything except the movie Wall-E, because there was basically no dialogue. So she loved it. So she wanted to name her son Wally or her daughter Eva. So she had a son. And Wally also happens to be my uncle's name. So there you have a short story of the history of Wally. My writing plans for this coming year are to write the second of the two Regency fantasy romances. I finished the first one. I'd really like to get the second one done this year. Ideally, I'd like to finish it and go back to my YA fantasy series. I also am writing a short story, and I have one scene to go before it's done. So I really had hoped to finish that before the new year, but it will be this year, God willing.
Excellent. Heidi, do we have you?
Give me 1 minute.
Oh boy. You know I'm trying to think about when we had the discussion about moving this 1 hour later, and here we are. Here's Heidi. Welcome back. I'll jump into some stuff. I'll hit some of the my failings of last year and successes of last year and plans for 2026. I'll tell you what I failed at first, which I think is an important place to start. Besides Anunnaki, Origin of Samaria, I turned out no original new video. And to contextualize, yes, that came out in February, but it was started in 2024 summertime. So, I would like to turn out more new original video, fictional video material in 2026. Will that happen? I hope so. Biggest goal that I was able to achieve last year was turning out 12 audiobooks, one a month over the course of 2025. Anybody that's been following along knows I had some issues with KDP and ACX in November. That has resulted in the change of some rights on a compilation that I did, breaking apart this compilation, and will be releasing 3 more audiobooks over the course of the first 3 months of 2026 that will keep the streak alive. So I've actually put out 14 audiobooks a month straight since late 2024. So by the end of this, should be at 17 out of 17 months. I don't know if that's any sort of record or anything, but it's a pretty good run for me. Other things I'm looking forward to. I am working on a short story. Now that I got a little bit more time, I've been actually working on this stuff and have made some progress over even just the last few days. I think I've scratched together about 500 words, basically to add into that story. So I'm almost at a quarter of the word count that I want for that. I'm a slow writer, but I think I can hit the deadline for that one. I really want to get it out by May at the latest. And I think I can do it, even amongst all of these other projects. So there's that. There's another sleeper project I really have not talked about very much at all. Have not begun on it really, even to be honest, but it's related to an older project, kind of visiting new terrain with that particular piece. I've got volume 3 of Exploring Our National Parks, which is coming along. I think I can get that wrapped up by the end of this month. If not this month, certainly by the end of February. It is quite close. Heidi's seen it and given me excellent feedback on how to strengthen that up. Last thing that I've got slated explicitly for this year is a paperback nonfiction for the fall. I have been releasing a nonfiction paperback once a year since 2019, and I would hate to break that streak because, we like to challenge ourselves and maybe overwhelm ourselves a bit. Again, to the folks hanging out, this is an open conversation, and you may request a mic. Come and talk with us. Tell us about last year. Tell us about this new year. Tell us about your thoughts or plans. Heidi, do we have you?
Yes,
do we have
thank
you
you.
back? That's nice.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
things happen out of I can't control the
Mhm.
world.
Well, okay.
Really frustrating for me as much as I would like to be in charge.
Gotcha.
But
Can only
no one put
imagine.
me in charge, Josh, darn it. Um, okay, so for last year, right, I've been cleaning, obviously I put out the novella, The House That Jack Built. And I've got The Desert is out as well. And it's been in the base book sale, and it's been that's been really great for me because it's sort of getting my work out in front of more people, which is always a challenge. It's not. I think a lot of my writing, you guys have both read it or experienced it, or you've heard the audiobook, Michael, for The Desert, and you you and I, discussed The House That Jack Built a lot when I was working on it last year. One of the challenges for me is I'm kind of a slow burn kind of writer. So it's like you gotta give me some time to catch up, and then I'm hopefully you feel it's worth it once you get there. But and that's something I'm sort of trying to be able to figure out how to address so that people kind of understand what they're signing up for when they come in. And I'm not a fast action. It's not slow, but it. I don't know. You know what I mean by this, Jaji.
I have the exact same issues. So if we find a way to fix it, we'll tell each other. Otherwise,
I know, right?
you just need to look for the kind of readers who like stories that are really good once you commit.
Yeah, you have. I mean, and I think, well, I mean, we can talk about this more, but I'll sort of drop it for now to sort of round all the bases. But so I've got those out. So now the second book in the series of Songless is written, and it's in rough draft form, and I'm going through it. I just had a lot of stuff going on. I had to get my son back to college, so I was back in the South, and now I'm back in the West, so I've been moving around a little bit. So that's it's wonderful, but it's also just it's stuff you're doing that's a distraction from sitting down and writing. So I had that going on, just that kind of thing. And so the Fort is the second book in Songless after the Desert. It's written, and I'm going through it, and it took me a while. I had one sort of chapter right in the middle that sort of hinges things, and it's very dark. And when I hit these dark chapters, it takes a while to kind of get through them. Just even for editing, because I don't particularly. It's one of those things where it's like I don't particularly like what's happening, but that's what's gonna be happening. So I have to kind of deal with it. So it's one of those things. So I've gotten through that, and I'm on to the second half of the book. I'm going through it. Been stuck there for a while, so that's good. Um, so we're doing that. I'm gonna do the audiobook for The House That Jack Built. Since it's a novella, it's about 25,000 words. I should be able to get that out pretty quick. That'll land about maybe 2 to 3 hours, I think. So that's a goal to like really burn that out. I might I'm trying to do some sort of just internal changes with the desert, not the text so much, but the layout for the novel. And I want to get the fort done this year. I want to get it out. So that's kind of my goal. But obviously, I have to get it edited and all of that thing. So I don't know. There's where I'm at, and also in my subscriber space on here, I have sort of decided I'm gonna do like a weekly essay on, and I want to focus on not only writing, but sort of the need for a moral center based on what you write. And I'll probably post something about that, sort of the um, sort of manifesto, for lack of a better word, that I put forward for this project that I'm going to do in my subscriber space this year. So, if you're interested in that, that will be there. So there'll be about one sort of essay a week based on that. I may do something within the future, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've got another novel. It won't be as There will be a satellite project for Songless. It'll be in that world, but it'll be a couple of new characters that I'm introducing, and that will be more of a romance, but not complete. I mean, it will be. Well, I mean, one would definitely put it under that, but it's not going to be. I'm still working it out, but it's going to be. I don't want it to be a traditional. Well, traditional is the wrong word. I don't want it to be how we're doing these modern romances today, but it will be, but it won't be. Is how I'm thinking it.
We heard you liked romance, so we put a romance into your romance series. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, yeah, it's not my fault. Th I had this character just pop up, and he just, he wants to have a romance. I can't stop him. He
What
won't he
can you
won't leave me
do?
alone. What?
I said, what can
So
you
it's
do?
it's his fault, not mine, you
Well,
know? I'm
yeah,
I'm just doing what I'm told.
I understand. Let's get some of these folks that have come up on a stage talking. Weller, I think we brought you up first. Yeah. Tell us about last year's successes, victories, and plans for 2026.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome back.
Thanks. So, talking about last year. Oh, wow. Last year was a busy year. Um, I felt like I was really only active for half the year. The first half of the year, I was trying to get myself together, lots of moving around. Second half of the year, I did not write as much as I thought I would, but I took to heart something that you said, Michael. Last year, you were talking about spending less time pushing out content and more time marketing the content that you have to give it life. So that's what I spent a lot of last year doing. And it yielded, I think, a lot of success. The last part of the year, I was in a lot of festivals, mainly because my reach on Twitter was so pathetic. I had to do something. I needed to get my work in front of an audience of some kind. And my work is a little dark, so I really wasn't going to find an audience on Twitter. So I found it in the festival circuit. And as a result of that, I learned just the other day that I got my first IMDb credit through one of the festivals, which was really nice. And so um, I thought, let's expand the world that I started to build. And the world I started to build is called Crumb Canvas. Um, it was not the one that I thought would be the thing that would find acceptance because it's such a wacky idea. It's a storybook world of magical realism where these characters bounce off each other, exploring human themes of ambition and consciousness and all the rest of that. But it's told with food. But the storytelling, I think, sort of carried it through. And so that's what I'm going to focus on this year. I'd like to put together a small book of serial tales, like they're like human fables, like something along the lines of, or in the spirit of, Frog and Toad or Winnie the Pooh, but with a dark angle to it. And so this is actually my third attempt at writing. The first two attempts were years ago, and I sort of gave up, but I'm going to try to stick with it. And my learning curve, I expect to be a little steep because I'm a horrible marketer and I know nothing about book publicity. So I have a lot to learn, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, very cool. So, uh, absolutely, love what you're talking about in terms of promo and marketing. I am also embarking on that this year because I put out so much stuff last year. And yes, I did rounds of marketing for each one of the releases. But in the grand scheme of things, that's not enough, you know? It was basically like release this thing, put out all the boilerplate promo stuff that I typically do, and then I'm on to the next one. This year, I will have a 1 year anniversary for every single one of those monthly releases I did last year, so I can do another round of promo for that. I actually have been mapping out the promotions that I want to do for this year. Secondly, there's a bigger discussion about personal branding that goes along with this, which is why I will be doing on my Substack monthly. I'm going to release a chapter and video from the How to Create a Personal Brand in 10 Steps project. So that'll be up there. That's going to be for premium subscribers. Basically, you're going to get the video and the chapter, which is basically a workbook for how to build out your ecosystem, your content ecosystem for promoting yourself and the work that you're doing. You know, if you're a subscriber, you'll have access to ask questions and hopefully can help you do some problem solving along the way. Obviously, each one of those components is available out there on its own, but you know, we're going to bundle them up, make it easy to access that stuff in one place. So glad to hear that. And you know, I just feel like that's a really important and critical component of the things that we do. I sometimes think that we invest so much energy into the creation part of things that we don't necessarily devote as much in terms of resources and energy to the follow-up, you know, the promotion of that stuff. Indy, you have come to stage. And I don't think we know you. Maybe some other folks do, but I don't. So let's hear about your successes, your failures in 2025, and your plans for 2026.
No, I came here a long time ago, like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh,
I remember Indy.
Nice.
How are you?
Welcome back.
I'm good. I'm good. I got 4 books done. Well, yeah, 4. But I don't know how to sell them. I mean, I got on TikTok. I have a TikTok store, but I don't really know anything about selling them. I'm re-editing. Well, I'm rewriting. I got a trilogy done, and then I got a standalone done last year. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, but besides like selling them hand to hand, I sell them hand to hand. I just order some off Amazon and I go walk around my neighborhood and sell them. That's about all I've done so far. But I think I got like one online order. That's about it. So
Let us show you the love for pounding the pavement, because I don't think enough of us are doing that in the grand scheme of things in the real world where we can meet flesh and blood humans. However, in your case, it sounds like, you know, there are a collection of processes you might want to develop to drive traffic online so that people can pick up your stuff here, where it exists 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 366 days during leap year, you know, and that I think is, you know, a critical component to being an author at this point in time. While I applaud you for doing the physical work. There's this whole side of stuff that, you know, even I'm still exploring and trying to discover ways to improve that stuff. And, you know, honestly, last year was head and shoulders above previous years for me, both in terms of book units and video units, sales, rentals, and audiobooks and paperback ebooks, a whole bit. That is a result of compounding results and small little efforts along the way, but it's certainly something that I think everybody can do. You know, for me, it was about building catalog last year. I doubled my catalog. And things are getting indexed. It's easier to find me as a result of that. I'm in competition with other people who have my name, who have been out here doing things longer, some of which is also in this space of books. People who are magicians, people who are news broadcasters and the like. So it is critical for me to extend my footprint to compete and make sure that more keywords and more opportunities to discover me as a result of the prior work done against my namespace online. Just some of my thinking.
Sounds good.
You mentioned.
Michael,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's quite a wall to climb. I didn't realize how common your name would have been to have to fight against the tide of all the other Michael similar last name. Like, how are you getting around that?
Not similar last name, exact last name, exact
Okay.
name. How am I getting around that? Well, so the two other main namespace competitors for me, I would say their careers are in the closing act, so really it is just a matter of extending further and deeper across the web. One of the first things I ever did to compete, because the magician from Arizona owned michaelfinney.com. So I couldn't get michaelfinney.com. And I knew that there was going to be an issue with the .net and blah, blah, blah. So what I did was I went and got michael-finney.com. This does a number of things, but most importantly, it gives me the .com. So, that in and of itself, and there were, lots of different things that I could be doing with the website, but really like surfacing all of the relevant things there. I'm not trying to compete against perhaps some of their specific keywords. It really is a matter of bulk and slight differentiation. But at the same time, it also comes down to social presence and like visual components. I know a lot of times people, will bring up my profile picture as why are you using that? Well, I've used it for so long that at this point, if I changed, no one would recognize me. And
That makes sense.
well, yeah, it is that's the issue. So I've been using this image for I don't even know how long, well over a decade. And the idea that there's value in me changing that, there is none, because the thing is, my social presence and my web presence has been intrinsically linked to this image. So, getting that indexed, again, getting images indexed, discovering, my interest in performing covers of older stories and being able to index against that kind of stuff is helping as well. Jaji?
So my husband, when he started, his name is John C. Wright, and there was another author named John C. Wright who wrote books about cats. And so he wrote to his agent when the first book was going to come out, and he said, "There's another John C. Wright. I was thinking, should I use a pen name, maybe Nostradamus Apocalypse?" And his agent wrote back and said, "By coincidence, I also represent the other John C. Wright. So no matter whose books they buy, I get paid, so I don't care." So he ended up just going with John C. Wright.
That is absolutely insane for that coincidence to go on.
No, what was the chat? I remember talking to the assistant, who's now a agent editor with Bain, but at the time he was the assistant for the editor, the agent, and he said, yeah. I was like, oh, John C. Wright's written a fantasy. And Jim was like, no, that's a totally different guy. And my husband remembers the day when, if he put his name into Google for books, he came up before because at first the cat guy would come up first, and then he remembers the day that he'd had enough books out that it switched.
Incredible circumstance, honestly. And here's the thing, too. I think that in some capacity, perhaps these other people doing so much legwork around the Michael Finney brand has perhaps helped me. I don't know. Certainly there's an issue of differentiation, but at the same time, who knows? I'd have to do a lot of research to break down analytics on that, and I'm less compelled by that task than I am to just do the work to spread my tentacles out.
And the other thing is, if there's someone in the world who thinks that a magician named Michael Finney also writes about parks, it doesn't do either of you any harm. You know what I mean? It's nice to have it clarified, but as long as they're buying your stuff, it doesn't really matter if they accidentally think the two guys are the same guy. It would only matter if it was interfering with them buying your stuff,
Yeah, I'm with that. Again, for the folks hanging out, if you would like to come up and talk, grab a mic. Otherwise, let's just kick it around. We've hit all the things that I thought were important to address, and maybe there's other relevant conversation points for today.
Anyone else who's here can tell us what you're hoping to do this year.
I'm hoping to. I'm finishing. So I wrote this trilogy, but I went back into the second book and I'm rewriting it right now. But I'm like halfway done. I added a few more chapters and remixed a bunch of stuff. And I mean, I don't really know because I'm kind of self-educated as far as writing goes. And they're kind of like I just wrote them and I was like I edited it. I didn't even write a second draft or anything, so that's kind of like how I write. But yeah, that's kind of like what I'm up to. Hopefully I can get some sales, uh, stuff like that.
The thing that has been the most valuable for me, in terms of units, has been audiobooks explicitly. Can we get a mute from you, Indy, while you're not on, or whoever it is? This is interesting, maybe broadly interesting, but at least specifically interesting to me. At the beginning of last year, I had a ratio of about 2-to-1 audiobooks to ebooks and paperbacks. By the end of last year, I'm in the 3-to-1 discussion now. Sure, that is a result of putting out so many audiobooks last year, but at the same time, that's pretty strong momentum, I would say, in general. And I think that if you can in any way begin to pepper out smaller pieces. I know a lot of people like to use Substack for short stories or offering up chapters as they go. That's fine to build audience that way there. But for me, this is an interesting bit of lore here. When I was doing The Fall of Tartaria in 2024, and I was putting together the short story, I was talking to a couple of periodicals, literary magazines about putting it out. And the conversations and developing sort of the rapport and stuff with them, it was basically like, well, we might do that. Maybe we'll get back to you. And I'm like, I got stuff to do. So if you don't want this for what is effectively, you know, a nice, at least observational, saying here's X amount of money for the rights to be able to carry this, and then you don't get to put it out for X amount of period of time in any other format, that was fine. But ultimately, I am not patient on that, and decided to put it out as a short story ebook myself, and then do the audiobook reading and put that out. That has been a great success. That particular project is now, I would say, probably, because it has the short film video up on Amazon Prime, and it has the ebook and the audiobook, that is just a runaway success comparatively to a lot of other stuff. It is, in terms of revenue, I don't have that collective number, but in terms of units, it is just up there. It's getting into the range that the Chicago 1893 project has, and that has been out. I think the book came out in August or September of 2019, so it's got a much longer timeline. Again, it is also considerably more expensive than any of the Tartaria pieces, but there's a community around that topical sort of interest out on the web, and luckily they have found it, and there's more to do with that. There's more in that vein to explore along the way, and I think that as you branch out any one project, right, or you try and find ways of iterating on the offering that you have out there, whether it's paperback or hardback or ebook or audiobook or serialization. Say you're doing something out on Royal Road, or you're doing it on Substack, or you turn it into a video, and that can be lots of different things. You could do an author reading video if you wanted to. You don't have to do, original shorts, animation type of stuff like I do for things. That's not important or critical. Just thinking about ways to meet a potential audience out in the world where they are. People will engage with what you make in a lot of different ways, and make it easy for them. Make it available in the formats and the markets within the markets. Because again, I've been very Amazon exclusive over the last few years. I'm rethinking that this year after the issues that I had in the fall. Audiobooks, I've always gone wide with audiobooks. But I'm trying to find my way into more little cracks and stuff like that out in the world. And that's kind of what I'm focused on too, in terms of back catalog for 2026.
I forgot when we were talking about 2026. The other thing I hope to get out is the audiobook for my sixth book, The Guardians of Twilight Lands. It got put on hold because my lovely narrator's daughter got married and she handmade the parts of the wedding gown. So we just put it on hold for a while. But the book is like 600 pages. So the audiobook's like 20 hours or something crazy like that. So we've been going at it slowly, and she's done part of it already, and she's doing a great job. So I'm looking forward to that hopefully coming out at some point this year. I should also mention that we have the Fantastic Schools anthologies. We still have some room in the Fantastic Schools extracurricular. So if you write short stories, you want to write one about a magic school who has clubs or goes on a field trip or something, let me know.
Yeah, great opportunity there. See, that's the thing too. Some of these anthologies, like Jaji's doing, or some folks that I know at Rack Press, they have built up their entire press on anthologies. and they are now getting into standalone releases. Shout out Graham Bradley for Fossil Force. He's already working on the sequel to that. They, I think, are working on doing a at least one standalone release a month through 2026, as well as their incredibly rigorous schedule for anthologies. Those calls are still open as well. You can check them out and go take a look and see if maybe you've got something that fits or would be interested in writing something for one of those open calls. Interesting note here, I interviewed their team in December, and that podcast will be coming out next week. So if you're a listener to the podcast, you'll be able to find that available on Monday on all your favorite podcast streaming platforms.
That sounds like something worth listening to.
Oh, for sure. Now, this is the funny thing about that conversation. I'm not going to try and give it away right now because, listen to it. But I had 3 people from their team talking on the session, and they did all the work. To be honest,
can you tell us the names of the 3 that you had? If you remember offhand. If you
I mean, I can give you their handles.
Never mind. I'll wait to hear.
It's Law Dog.
Yeah, they're doing great stuff, and they're doing kid books, and they're supposed to be opening up into YA.
Yep.
And I know a number of people who are hoping that might turn out to be valuable for them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We go over, all their plans. We go over all the typical stuff that I do with a first time interview. But maybe you haven't heard from them in a while, or maybe you haven't heard from them in regards to the stuff I drill into. So, again, that'll be out.
Oh yeah, what I just said is everything I know about what they're up to.
Yeah. So yeah,
I just happened to talk to them about that subject, and I've talked to other people about it.
Perfect.
But I'm sure they're doing a lot that I'm not familiar with. I'm looking forward to it.
They are doing so much. It is unreal, to be honest with you. There's, I don't know how they keep up with that, but at the same time, I really do think that building on top of all of the work that they've done this year for them really looks like just an absolute blossoming into the broader indie publishing space and really beginning to just create viability for authors. Because here's the thing too, we're all independent for the most part. Some people work with publishers occasionally or in some regards, but there's so much on our back, and it's great to see any sort of collaboration in the space where you're able to basically amplify what you're doing. That's part of what even this space is. It's a way for Heidi and Jaji and I to go over our thoughts and at least communicate with each other once a week about the things that we're working on and talk shop and the rest,
And all you guys.
Right.
So we have a brand new year. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, this anthology idea is not a terrible idea. I mean, it would get a lot of people out there. And you could do it. I bet a lot of people would be interested in doing something like that. But I mean, I guess thematically is the best way to do it, like what you're doing, Jaji, with the magic school stuff, right? Because that's your series, you've got this whole series of a magic school. And so I'm like, that's kind of a clever idea, because I think there's something to be said for these shorter pieces. I mean, people kind of, that would give someone an opportunity to kind of connect. It's almost, I wouldn't definitely look at it. I wouldn't completely look at it as marketing because I mean, it needs to have, you need to write a good story. But I mean, how many short stories are you going to put in it?
We usually put about 13 in, and Chris usually writes a really long one, so it might be more like 14 or 15 in length.
So when you say
But the length varies a lot. So I usually put in about, it usually ends up being about 13 stories. Not every single one is 13, but that's usually what ends up being.
okay, so like, and how long are each of the stories?
It varies. I think we say, between 3,000 and 12,000. We occasionally get one that's longer. His are longer. If someone sends a good one that's shorter, we're not going to really turn it down because it's too short. But that's what we say.
Sure, sure. I
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
idea.
fun.
I mean,
It's
I
fun.
think it's a great idea if you can get 12 or 13 people. I mean, even
Yeah,
if writes a couple of them. I
yeah.
mean,
And nowadays we publish through PubShare,
yeah.
which makes such a difference. So PubShare is a service run by a gentleman named Chuck, whose last name I'm afraid I can't pronounce. Starts with H. Um, but he's a wonderful guy. He's really quick to help. And what he does is he splits up the money. He takes 10%, but he pays people directly. When I had one anthology, it was not a problem to split it 12 or 13 or 14 ways. I forget how many was in the first one. But
Yeah.
Amazon does not tell you how much they're giving you for anything. So you get a lump sum from Amazon, and you have to yourself try to figure out what the Indian ruble or whatever the money is that it's coming in. Because sometimes you'll get money from a bunch of different countries, and you have to figure out the exchange rate and try to figure out for your
Actually,
4 to 5 different books
Jaji, no,
which
they
book it
do
came from.
convert that. They do convert that. It's just in a different window.
Well, they didn't convert it as it arrived in the bank.
Yeah. Well,
You see, they only could, you know what I mean? So
sure.
I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
to sit
Okay.
there and translate back and then try to figure out how much went with each book. Because you have to separate it. I'm saying they give you an amount for how many pounds you got, how many EUs you got for all 5 or 6 of your volumes at once. They don't break down what they sent you, you see. So you have to kind of go backwards and try to figure out exactly what you got. And they have a lot better reporting now than they did when I got fed up with this a few years ago. But I actually had to spend an entire day just doing the math to try to break the money down to send some guys, maybe a nice amount, but other guys 13 cents, and PubShare does it for you. So nowadays I figure that, I'm very happy to pay the 10% in order to have the math done. and also, like, I know that our the publisher who publishes StarQuest ran into a problem that PayPal wouldn't let him pay more than a certain number of people at a time. But you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about trying to send money to people and not everyone has PayPal or whatever it is. When you go through PubShare, you just get everybody in your anthology to sign up with PubShare. You publish it through PubShare, and he'll do many different platforms. I don't know all of them because I haven't done anything but Amazon through him, but there's a lot of others available, and you can choose a KU or not KU, and it makes it so much easier. So having done it both ways, I say, if you're not a publisher who really wants to do the publishing side of things, I recommend PubShare because it's just a really useful, helpful tool. And you still have to get the cover together and the format it and all that, have it typeset and everything like that. But he does the math for paying people, which is just really nice.
Yeah, that is a way to do it. I mean, I like that idea. I'm gonna have to consider doing something like that because I think that would be a good way for people to find people's writing without feeling too totally committed. And I mean, I think that feeds into sort of marketing for us, Michael, because you're the one who suggested I write a shorter piece, and I tried really hard to write a short story, but it turned into a novella. Um, which is still not that long. I mean, it's,
Short stories is a different art from novels, and I'm getting so that I can write slightly shorter ones now, but I find it really hard to write anything that's under about 12,000 words. Uh,
Well, you
because
know,
it's just if you think in terms of novels and how you put weave things together for a novel, short story is a different way of weaving things together, you know?
well, it's self-contained in a way. I mean, if it's ancillary to a major project, then
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like you can, but it has to. I mean, it can feed into that world and it can feed off of that world, so that
Right.
you don't have to do as much development. You say this is part of this world in terms of like setting, especially if you're doing fantasy. So, or you have a world that is different than the
Yeah.
one we
It,
supposedly live in,
it's
right?
a, it
So
is a challenge to figure out how much you need to say in the short story. Like, do I
yeah,
need to tell them all of this or can I leave that out? And, kind of
exactly.
a corollary to that is there's a fellow who doesn't read romances at all, who really wanted someone to read his book and offered to read, to swap beta reading. So I said, okay, I'll do it. But, are you sure? I have this 800-page romantic fantasy, which you probably won't like. And he said he'd do it. He really wanted someone to read his book. So I did read his book, and I wrote out, I did it like I was being paid to edit. I mean, I wrote out all my thoughts and everything. I enjoyed his book quite a bit, actually. But as he's going through my book, he keeps stopping to comment on the magic system. But of course, I don't explain the magic system because he's a fantasy reader in much detail in the romance novel, but it's like everything he asks about is completely explained in the 6 volumes of the YA fantasy. But it doesn't, most of it's not in the romance novel because I don't think most romance readers are going to care as much about that, or some of it came on stage later, in the book. But and particularly he was, asking questions about the background of why the world is that way. And I'm like, well, my main character in my later book, in the later series, say it later, I mean in time, is the person who figures out what's going on with the world, but nobody on the planet knows during this period. So there's no real way my character could find out, because the changes came from outside the world. So,
Well,
it's an interesting question. I think in this case, the fantasy reader wants to know things that the average romantic fantasy reader won't care about that much. And I can just hint at them.
now
But
yeah.
it's just an interesting thing of how much do you put on stage? Do I need to explain this? Can I get away with not explaining it? And it kind of, for short story, you have the same issue. How much do I need to explain about the general background versus just kind of setting the mood and only concentrating on the short story?
Well, I mean, this is the thing with the short story. I mean, and I think it demands conciseness, right? But and so it's like there are no wasted words. I mean, even
Yeah.
like the novella, there really are no wasted words, but a short story, it has to be no, I mean, it's like we're saying, right? Where it's feeding off your larger body of work in that world, but at the same time, if that's all someone's going to read, everything has to be contained in it.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be a self-contained object that someone can read and not feel like it's just a marketing piece to read everything else. They have to,
Right.
I
Right.
mean, you can put a little bit of that in there, but they have to feel like they have a conclusion. They have to
And one of it goes both ways. One way is that you have to put enough that they feel like it's real in the world. But the other way is also is that you can't put too much. You can't stop to weigh them down with stuff about the background that you got to pair that out so they're only getting what they need for that story, and they're not being saddled with complicated. Okay, the background's complicated, but you don't need to know that background. You only need to know this part right here. So it's kind of a
yeah,
balancing act between the
it
two.
is. And so I mean, it can be challenging to be doing that, but the other advantage was, I mean, you want to the other advantage of the short story is that people are willing to buy in for an unknown author, which is where I get
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
the anthology. And it's, it you kind of are using it twofold. One, you need to write a good story if you know, but at the same time, it's kind of a marketing piece for your other writing.
When
I
I was a
I th
kid, I used to buy anthologies for that very purpose when I was, like, in high school and college, just to find other authors, like, "Oh, this way I can buy one book," and, and then I'd find, like, one guy out of the anthology that I liked, and I'd go read other books by them, you know? So it happens.
Here's a thought. What about yeah, and I'm just perceiving things here, but I'm sensing this this notion of a writer's block anthology in 2026. You know, who knows what could happen?
I mean, I have thought that. I
Heidi's been
mean,
poking around it. I'll just put it out there, you know.
I well, I just when it was I hadn't formed the thought fully, to be honest with you, because Jaji was saying I'm doing this anthology in this magic school, and I'm thinking, well, that's a great idea. And I'm thinking, well, this is something we could all do, and I like that because we have people come in here, you guys. We can put them together.
Speaking
I
of
mean,
which,
Well,
and
I
Jaji
will
knows how to tell us to do it.
side note for the
I can
folks
do
hanging
the,
out,
like, the putting things in order type part of it.
hold
Um,
on just a second here before we get into the nuts and bolts of
no,
it.
no, no. I'm
We
just
gotta
saying
write.
I'm available to. I can do it. Is all I'm
Yeah,
saying. I'm not
yeah.
saying I will do it.
No, but you're
But I will.
obligated already. Too late. We've already assigned you the editor role.
Uh,
So
I My son is in a college writing group that does an anthology every year, and what they do is they set some kind of a theme. Last year was you had to have a magic mirror, and they had rules for how the magic mirror worked, and it
mm,
had to show up in your story, but nothing else. And this year it is they have everyone's at a tavern that where different worlds come together, and they're all telling a story at the tavern.
it's very
So
cool.
one thing we might want to mull over would be some kind of a theme, something like that. I remember where I think it was Silver Empire put out a anthology where it had to have a staircase, like a magical staircase in the forest at one
I'm
point.
into it. Hold
We
on.
could mull
Hold
over this
on.
idea.
Hold on just a second before we get further into this, because for the folks hanging out here, uh, we have a DM group here on Twitter. If you're interested in being added to that to get updates or share your work or anything like that, message me or Heidi. Now, there's a small issue with some of this other minutia that goes along with this. We may have to relaunch that group because of the new DM system that Twitter came out with. Here is another thing. You know, we talked about bringing the program into an hour, and we're approaching that time. So perhaps we can get some thoughts to drive that to completion for today. I don't know. Do you guys want to continue to develop this idea live on the air? Or, I know, Jaji, you had talked before about needing to wrap up by what is 2:00 Eastern time. I don't tell you what to do, but, these are some of the things
Well,
that I'm thinking.
I'm good. I'm good today. I'm
Okay.
fine.
All right. Yeah.
I'm fine either way.
Well, we could play with this idea a little bit if you guys want. I don't know. I mean, I like the idea. I definitely like the idea of a theme. I think that is,
I'm less compelled by the idea of a theme.
why are you less compelled?
Well, for two reasons. I don't want to write to a theme personally,
Mm,
and also I
you're done with
think
that? You
I
graduated college and you're not going back? I hear that.
yeah.
Well, that's easy enough. Michael writes his story, and then we pick the theme from it, and the rest of us.
Brutal. I see what you've done.
Love it.
I like
You
the
you
theme
are
of community and just being a part of the writer's block and being able to feature the folks. I'm happy with that.
that's not a, I mean, that is a theme.
Yeah.
I mean,
What's kind of cool about that is that we could theoretically end up with an anthology that had both speculative fiction and non-speculative fiction in it, which you almost never see, but would could be fun.
What would non-speculative fiction be? What is that?
Well, what I'm saying is that mainstream fiction tends to be like stories that are not don't include magic, don't include science fiction, that kind of story.
Okay.
Normally you don't get stories that are merely set in the more normal world and have just something that could be a normal person's experience, along with a story with fairies and elves.
Hmm.
But if we just open it to anything, you could have stories that were, an everyday, I mean, not that they're not dramatic, but they're, take place just in the real world as we see it, and a story set on another planet in the same anthology, which I've never seen.
Okay.
I mean, it could be cool.
I like that idea. I mean, I'm open, as you all know. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's try that. So I
Well,
mean,
my suggestion is that we kind of mull over it. We don't have to make a decision right away. We could
yeah.
kind of think about it
We don't.
and hit it back and forth
So
Yeah.
we got
for a month, and then if we like it, we could start pick a date to get stories by or something like that.
yeah,
Mhm.
we got a whole year to figure this out.
Do we?
Yep.
Do we have a whole year to figure
Okay,
it out?
no, we don't. We don't. You know,
Well, we still have it. We have if we want it out before the end of the year, we still have plenty of time because
uh,
once
I like the idea of putting it out, in December, like right before
yeah.
December. What do you think?
I'm less.
You
I'm
hate
less.
December.
Yeah, I don't want to put it out in December. It needs to be
Well,
earlier than that.
Well, I can tell you. Let me describe how the process usually goes for us, really quick, just so that we have some idea. So we put out a call for stories, and we usually put it out somewhat ahead of time. I give people time,
we
a
got
couple of months, sometimes 6 months, but usually closer than that. The stories come in, and usually I read them over. I haven't the last few. I retired from doing that, and Chris has been doing it, but often I'll read them over and do it for like a first initial edits. And then once we've both looked at them, we go to we hire an editor, um, and have somebody, copy edit and also do second editing or whatever. Then it comes back, and we get people to make changes and send them back to us, and I compile them so that they have a little intro line or paragraph and a little author's blurb at the bottom, and put them in order.
Mhm.
And then I have a friend who's a typesetter who does the typesetting for us. And then we just put it up on PubShare or on Amazon when we were doing it directly, and it's done. The only other thing is getting a cover. Chris has been in charge of that for our anthologies. Chris Nuttall, who writes Schooled in Magic series, this is kind of his project, and I'm the second on it. And
I can do a
that's
cover.
the process. Yeah, I mean that's the process we've been doing, kind
I
of
mean,
really
I
cool, fantasy covers, but they could have any kind of cover for an anthology. So that's just to kind of throw out there what the steps are. So it could be fun. Could be
yeah.
fun.
I mean, yeah, we can talk about that. I mean, I would
Another thing, the only other issue that one needs to think about, which is a lot more complicated than it used to be, is do you take reprints? We have taken reprints, but one of the big problems with reprints is you can't necessarily put something in KU if it's the same as somewhere else, which is outrageous that they do that. I mean, stories get reprinted all the time, but they sometimes causes a problem in KU if there's a reprint of a story that's also in KU somewhere else. So when it's deciding if one takes reprints, that when the basic what you're weighing is some people like to give a reprint because then they're giving like their best story that they wrote a while ago that isn't anywhere else, and they'd really like to see it out there again.
sure.
And versus, are you going to try to put it in KU? So those are the like the things to think about. Those are the steps. That kind of covers everything that I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, we can lay this out more as we go forward, but I like this idea. I think we should do it. So
If I'm
anybody
if I
here
didn't
who's
talk
got
about it,
something, keep in mind we're gonna probably crystallize this a little better and start putting stuff out. So if we're
you
gonna
guys
have
who are listening, you can
yeah,
go get started.
you were here at the inception of this concept of this idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So and I like the idea that it's just under the writer's block. I mean, we can I think that's enough of a theme. I mean, and we can put together an intro of what the writer's
Yeah,
block is and
that's a
all
great
that
idea.
stuff, and, I think that's a great idea. We can start figuring stuff out.
The only other thing I'll say is that most anthologies do not make much money at all. I mean, like $10 is what you
Well,
get altogether. But some of them, I've been in a few that have done really well. So you go out
you
there
never
doing it kind of as a labor of love, and if some money comes in, that's great. And as I said, one of the big advantages if you go through PubShare is that the money then goes directly to everybody, and nobody has to be responsible for
well,
worrying about someone else's money. But
I like that idea as well because it's a giant I mean, this is not about making money per
yeah,
se. I think
exactly.
it's
It's just
about
fun to showcase everybody who comes and
yeah.
listens.
Yeah, I think that's a great
Okay.
idea. I think we should do that. I mean, it's a showcase, and it's like anything, I mean, as Michael pointed out when he was discussing what he did in 2025, was his goal was to develop content and, the concept of critical mass is really, I think, important. The more stuff you have out, the more places you are, the more likely you are to get noticed. It's it's just kind of how the world works.
Yeah, and I and
Like
I
a
think
viral
that
tweet, but
okay,
even then, like I don't. That's still how many tweets do you do before one goes viral? I mean, it's
yeah.
critical mass.
And I mean, as I said, I think it really does. Some people do read an anthology, and then so, I mean, it's happened to me a couple of times. I really like that story. I think I'm going to go read something else by that guy. So, and even if not, if someone reads it, enjoys it, and, that's improves their day, it's a fun thing.
I dig it.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, gang. Well,
Is
All
is
right.
is this the summation of today? Have we?
I think so. I
I
think,
Yeah.
think our nation today is we added more work for ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Typical.
Woohoo!
well, we
Well,
talked
we
about this
unloaded
being
a
our
lot of work
plans.
from
We
last
just
year too,
added to
though.
our plans for
There we go. Well, let's put that. Let's add that to the list of stuff to do.
Perfect. Well, as it is, this has gone well. And I do want to give you guys all a heads up about something I'm very passionate about. Right now, we are in the midst of the January Grand Sumo Tournament. It started on
well, we can talk
Sunday,
about
goes for 15 days straight. You can catch all of the daily action on NHK World. That is Japanese cultural programming turned into the English language or whatever language you might want via AI conversion. Uh, I love it. I'm watching. I actually have a couple of days to catch up. I'm a little bit behind, but gosh, do we love it. Fantastic time to start watching sumo. A lot of great young talent. And, hey, we had a Ukrainian win the November tournament.
wow.
Aonishki, yeah, yeah, first time taking the Emperor's Cup for him and a Ukrainian. Two very strong Yokozuna as well. Aonishki's climbing up. I don't know if he was promoted to Ozeki yet, but he's certainly knocking on the door if he wasn't. Maybe he was. I don't know. I like I said, I've got 2 or 3 days to catch up on. I've just been so busy I haven't had a chance. But as for today, we do appreciate you guys taking the time. We'll be back next
Yes, thank
Tuesday,
you.
and Heidi will be
Yeah.
hosting. So look for her to schedule that in the coming days. As I
Sounds
said
great.
before, we'll be trading back and forth on that.
All right.
And Heidi, I guess I'll talk to you on Thursday at the same normal time.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you want to do a different time, just DM me.
Okay. I think that's right. About okay, guys. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, happy New Year. We're not
Happy
too
New Year, everybody. Thank you.
and here we go. We'll see what we can get done in 2026. But I like that. Last year our project was the hero's journey. This year it'll be the anthology. I like
It's a
it.
great idea.
I'm
Well, you
into it.
know, when we sit down to talk about upcoming, themes for Tuesdays, we can try to see if there's things related to anthologies that we can hit on. Kind of make it thematical. Not
I like
every
that.
time, but
I like
once a
that.
month or something.
Absolutely. Okay. The process of doing the anthology. Okay. Well, Michael, you are in charge. You have the kill button.
I
So
do. I was, not trying to just knock you guys off of the mic. I didn't want to just do that to you. But hey, again, also Thursday for folks interested, Film 3 with Chris Hackett. I'll be co-hosting over there. It's up above in the nest. There's a handful of things up in the nest. Maybe take a look at that as I'm talking to catch up on some of those things. We are going to be revisiting the Project Astral short film and NFT series that we put out last year. We sorted out some huge problems that we had. We have begun to do the airdrops for phase 2. Actually, we've completed the airdrops for phase 2. So if you were a phase 1 holder, you have got an airdrop, you should check your wallet. We're going to be doing phase 3 airdrops very soon, and then also making phase 3 collectibles available. For that, we got a rough cut on that film. We're going to be talking more about that on Thursday. As it is for today, I do appreciate you taking the time, and we'll talk again before too long.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
adios. See you next week. Bye.